Scientists are warning us. Magma under Yellowstone supervolcano is rising, and they're warning that an eruption would devastate the planet. This is authored by Michael Snyder via the Economic Collapse blog on Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden. It could be possible that a full-blown eruption of the Yellowstone supervolcano is not too far away. All over the world, seismic activity has been increasing in recent years, and this process seems to have accelerated during the early days of 2019. And from what we read yesterday, Yellowstone volcano is considered to be on the Ring of Fire. You'll see that in one of my past videos from yesterday. So yes, we have an uptick in the seismic activity in the Ring of Fire and also volcanic activity. In particular, quite a few dormant volcanoes, once dormant, are now springing back to life, and this has many concerned about what could potentially happen at Yellowstone. Of course, Yellowstone supervolcano has never been dormant, but there have been new signs of life over the past 6 months. Specifically, we're talking about the geysers, the Steamboat geyser in particular. The hydrothermal activity is increased. Entirely new geysers have sprung up out of the ground. Steamboat geyser has been the most active that it has been in decades, and some geysers have even been shooting debris and rocks into the sky. And now we're being told that a 465-mile long piece of molten rock is rising directly under Yellowstone. Scientists are closely monitoring this 465-mile wide long piece of molten rock rising below the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera, a bombshell documentary has revealed. The supervolcano is located, as we know, in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. It has erupted 3 times in history, 2.1 million years ago, 1.2 million years ago, and 640,000 years ago. Volcanoes typically blow when molten rock, known as magma, rises to the surface following the Earth's mantle melting due to tectonic plates shifting. However, geologists have revealed how Yellowstone's magma chamber, which sits on top of the magma plume, is slowly rising every year. Hopefully nothing major will happen at Yellowstone for a very long time, but experts assure that another full-blown eruption will take place one day, and when it does, it could potentially create a global volcanic winter from the volcanic ash blocking up the sun, which would make growing crops almost impossible and ultimately cause horrific global famines. And that's it's not just a volcanic ash blocking up the sun, it's also volcanic ash at least 3 feet deep in a lot of states surrounding the supervolcano of Yellowstone. 3 feet deep ash. Can you imagine? Nothing grows there, even if there's 1 inch of ash. Now, as a result, Dr. Christopher Kilburn says, as a result of which the amount of sunlight reaching the surface of the Earth drops, and as a consequence of that, it will trigger what is called a volcanic winter, in that the temperature never has a chance to recover. So you go through winter, the ash veil prevents the sun from warming up the Earth seasonally, so you just get continued winters, which might trigger ultimately extensive ice coverage, end quote. So if Yellow were to erupt today, none of our lives would ever be the same again from that moment on. We're talking about a disaster that is on the scale that most of us could not even imagine, and it would instantly render most of the country completely uninhabitable. The following is an extended excerpt from one of my previous articles about Yellowstone. Quote, I would like to try to describe for you what a full-blown eruption of the Yellowstone supervolcano would mean for this country. Hundreds of cubic miles of ash, rock, and lava would be blasted into the atmosphere, and this would likely plunge much of the northern hemisphere into several days of complete darkness. Virtually everything within 100 miles of Yellowstone would be immediately killed, but a much more cruel fate would befall those that live in major cities outside of the immediate blast zone, such as Salt Lake City or Denver. hot volcanic ash, rock, and dust would rain down on those cities literally for weeks. In the end, it would be extremely difficult for anyone living in those communities to survive. In fact, it has been estimated that 90% of all people living within 600 miles of Yellowstone would be killed. Experts project that such an eruption would dump a layer of volcanic ash that is at least 10 feet deep, up to 1,000 miles away. Can you imagine? Up to 1,000 miles away, volcanic ash 10 feet deep? You're talking about almost a two-story house full of ash. So 1,000 miles away, and approximately two-thirds of the United States would suddenly become uninhabitable. The volcanic ash would severely contaminate most of our water supplies, and growing food in the middle of the country would become next to impossible. In other words, it would be the end of our country as we know it today. The rest of the planet, and this would especially be true for the northern hemisphere, would experience what is known as a nuclear winter. An extreme period of global cooling would take place, and temperatures around the world would fall by up to 20 degrees. Crops would fail all over the planet, and severe famine would sweep the globe. In the end, billions would die." End quote. Scientists are constantly monitoring Yellowstone for potential signs of an eruption, but the truth is that a major disaster of this magnitude would probably come with little or no warning. And for one of the scientists had said in one of my previous videos, there's little we can do about stopping it. And once the things start progressing, it can take as little as 2 weeks to erupt. That was from a USGS scientist. Now, going back to this article, it's undeniable that in recent months there have been signs of increased activity in Yellowstone. That does not mean that an eruption is imminent, but without a doubt it should be a cause for concern. And this is especially true considering all of the shaking that we are seeing elsewhere around the globe. Just within the past few days, we've seen a magnitude 4.1 hit California, and the same day, a couple of hours later, 5.1 earthquake in Anchorage, Alaska. This is, of course, after the 7.0 earthquake that we had November 30th, and a lot of aftershocks after that. Now, residents took to earthquake monitoring site EMSC to share their experiences, and one said, "Long and big, significant anxiety spike." Another added, "That was crazy, hard quake." So we're not even to the middle of January, and there have already been more than 100 significant earthquakes in Alaska so far this year, and that is not normal. And of course, we know Alaska, again, is on the Pacific Ring of Fire, just like Yellowstone is. Now, our planet appears to be going through some major changes, and many believe that all of this seismic activity is an indication that things are about to become quite apocalyptic. I'm personally of the opinion that we're going to continue to see a rise in the number of earthquakes, and that we are going to continue to see a rise in the number of volcanic eruptions. As I've said before, the shell of our planet is cracked, and we are just floating on the pieces. Now those pieces appear to be getting increasingly unstable, and that's going to affect us in ways that most people cannot even imagine right now. And I'll just finish this with my comment. I wonder what that has to do if the magnetic North Pole that is moving very quickly from Canada towards Siberia has anything to do about that. It's moving very quickly in the past few years. And many believe that we're heading for a pole shift. So maybe that has to do with it too. If you know, if it does, please comment. This is on Zero Hedge. I'll leave a link below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.